the modern adaptation of the Goose Girl. Once upon a time in Ilford, grand and wide, Princess Ivy sat with no ecstatic pride. She felt elate in pink, a soft silk array, but her mother's stern words would exacerbate the day. Queen Ellie was infuriated, her spirit was incense, for her daughter lived on borrowed time and lack of sense. "You are weak," Ellie sighed, albeit with a tear. "You must learn to be brave and conquer your fear." "This infantile conduct," the queen did declare, "is a juvenile burden that I cannot bear. You alienate strength as if it were alien and cold, but a ruler must maintain a spirit that's bold. To retain your crown, you must ride to the wood and demonstrate power as a true princess should. If your plan should backfire, do not blame the steed," said Ellie to Ivy, "on Dobbin indeed." They met a girl, Sophia, by the edge of the town, who would overlook nothing and wear a dark frown. As opposed to Ivy, she was sturdy and strong, but she would oppose any right for a wrong. Her short blonde hair was marred by the dust, and she sought to confront any royal-born trust. "I compliment no one," Sophia said with a sneer. "Your compliment is hollow and born out of fear." Their abysmal journey began in the shade, where Ivy's circumstance made her afraid. Sophia was inconsistent, her temper a variable, making the trek quite unfortunately terrible. A dreadful plan formed in Sophia's sly head, a horrendous idea that filled Ivy with dread. "Give me your dress," Sophia barked with a shout. "Your exemplary life is what I'm about." "I shall confiscate your title," Sophia did cry, her voice a cacophony beneath the dark sky. She was erratic, energetic, and bold, while Ivy felt brittle and notoriously cold. On the verge of the woods, on the brink of a scare, Ivy gave up her gown and her royal-born flair. Sophia was enthusiastic to take up the part, with a dire and perilous hole in her heart. "You are staked to this forest," Sophia did yell, "banned from the palace and barred from the bell. Do not collaborate with the truth or the light, or you'll find yourself back to square one in the night. Your premature exit from royalty is current, and my inconsolable lies are your deterrent." Ivy was crestfallen, forced to resign, while Sophia rode off, looking rather divine. Ivy was left to slacken her pace, with no sanction of law or a smile on her face. Her demise seemed certain, her spirit was low, as she watched her own former identity go. She would deduct hope from her heart every day, as the latter part of her soul began to decay. "I prohibit my tears," she said to the trees, "and forbid this sadness to bring me to knees." The woods were appalling, the weather atrocious, the berries were sour and the wind was ferocious. The rotten leaves crunched under Ivy's bare feet as she found an old hut that was far from a treat. "This place is out of bounds," whispered a voice, "but to obliterate hunger you have little choice. It is out of the question to stay in the hall, lest the shadows vandalize your hope and your all." "I won't let alone fear," Ivy said to a bird, "or let my own future be wrecked and unheard." "Stuff and nonsense," she cried to the thickening mist, though her postponed courage began to persist. "I shall protest this fate," she declared to the sky, as the forest responded with a revoked kind of sigh. She found a lack of comfort but proposed to stay and tend to the geese through the dark and the gray. She did not prolong her sorrow or grief, though she extended her stay with no sign of relief. The danger began to escalate and deteriorate as her royal coincidence was left to its fate. Things had go pear-shaped at the palace, she knew, and that was the final straw for the truth to come through. "No wonder I'm hidden," Ivy sighed to a goose. "Under no circumstances can I break loose." Consequently, Ivy grew tough and quite wise, disqualified from the palace's snobbish disguise. She was qualified now to lead and to stand, without a malfunction of heart or of hand. Sophia, meanwhile, was snobbish and dismal. Her reign at the palace was truly abysmal. Not only was she cruel, but also quite vain, an error of judgment that caused Ellie pain. The monotony of the court was tedious and long, and Queen Ellie felt that something was wrong. She was lenient at first, but Sophia was lackluster, with no royal courage that she could quite muster. Her power would diminish. Her fame was distinguished by lies, akin to a fire that slowly then dies. Reminiscent of ivy, but vice versa in heart, Sophia was reluctant to play the true part. Inadvertently, Sophia was intentionally mean, the most unintentional princess that Ellie had seen. She was reticent to help and never was tolerant. Her sufficiently bad moods were truly abhorrent. She had inadequate grace and would shun every chore, inviting retaliation and a bickering war. They would dispute and squabble and quarrel all day, until Ellie knew there was a big mistake at play. Prince Jacob arrived on an inquiry tour, looking for a princess who was honest and pure. He would expel all the lies, and prior to his stay, he'd proceed to find truth in a distinguished way. He had to precede the banquet with a walk in the glen, where he'd sabotage falseness again and again. His horse was an automatic and manual delight, prone to finding the path that was hidden from sight. "I must do away with this doubt," Jacob said with a sigh, as he withdrawn his sword and looked at the sky. "That precious Sophia is anything but kind, contrary to the princess I hoped I would find. The incessant rain and the excessive cold were relentless and gray, and quite horrendously bold. I must start from scratch and revert to the trail, for I knew all along that the princess would fail." He heard a cacophony of geese in the glen, and decided to intervene there and then. The stench of the mud and the scent of the pine were outdated and wild, but the girl looked divine. He did not omit or avoid her dark gaze, nor did she elude him or hide in a maze. "Do not forfeit your name," Jacob said with a grin, "for an omen has told me where you have been." "It is exclusive," Ivy said, "to evade my old life, for I had a phobia of trouble and strife. But the severe woods made me vacate my fear, and engage with the strength that I now hold so dear." She did not disengage or act loquacious or shy. Her vocal resolve brought a tear to his eye. "Cease your hiding," he cried. "Livid Sophia must go, for she is furious and irate and a notorious foe." "I shall not hesitate, resist, or insist," said Ivy, "on a life that no longer exists. I regret my old weakness. It's ironic, of course, that I found my own power by losing my horse." To add insult to injury, she took my pink gown, but to add fuel to fire, I'll take back the crown. "She'll be caught red-handed," Jacob said with a cheer. "Day in, day out, your victory is near." It was the time of life to right a wrong and be bold. Fortunately, the truth was about to be told. Furthermore, Sophia's power began to wane and fade, rather than grow in the mess she had made. She did not falter, though the gradual light made her long for the forest and flee from the sight, only to find that her initial plan was substandard, as Ivy and Jacob through the palace gates wandered. Ellie did not veto her daughter's request, for the inquiry proved Ivy had passed every test. The penultimate moment was the ultimate proof, as the lies fell away like a tile from a roof. Sophia's protest fell on deaf ears in the hall, hence she was disqualified once and for all. I imply and infer and assume it is true that strength is a variable found deep inside you. Sophia was mimicking royals to intimidate and berate, but she got a taste of her own medicine and met her dark fate. Ellie did not admonish, reprimand, or chastise, but scolded the girl with her distinguished eyes. Ivy was ecstatic, no longer distraught, for she'd found the light at the end of the tunnel she sought. She'd think twice about Pink, to put it mildly, and ruled over Ilford both wisely and wildly. With Jacob beside her, no longer in jeopardy, their love was a consistent and beautiful melody, and happily ever after, they lived in the light, ending the dismal and horrendous long night.